Coming up on One Detroit, we're at Bon 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 in Hamtramck talking election 2020. This time we're zeroing in on the voters in Oakland County. You'll see how this county is changing. Plus, Nolan Finley talks with Bedrock CEO Matt Cullen about downtown development, Detroit investment, and Dan Gilbert. Then the Sphinx Competition finals are this weekend. The talent behind this amazing event. And sit in on rehearsal for Detroit Public Theater's new show opening this weekend. I'm Christy McDonald. Join me. One Detroit is coming up.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. The Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund. Business Leaders for Michigan. And by
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi there and welcome to One Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald. We are at Bon 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 in Hamtramck, where they make some of the most eclectic and delicious chocolates that sell out of here, and they've grabbed national attention too. We're going to do some tasting coming up. But this is a big week for national politics with the Iowa caucuses and the impeachment trial in Washington, and all of this puts election 2020 in focus. Coming up, we'll have our election 2020 closer look at voters in Southeast Michigan, this time Oakland County, how the county demographics are changing, and what that could mean for the March primary. Then we'll have Nolan Finley's conversation with Bedrock CEO Matt Cullen. They'll talk about investment in the city and the latest projects. Also coming up, the Sphinx Competition finals are this weekend, and Stephen Henderson has more on the stories of these amazing musicians. And then we'll take you to the final rehearsals of Detroit Public Theater's production of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That is all coming up on One Detroit. But we're going to get into the politics first. Iowa this week, New Hampshire next week, and a lot of attention on Michigan's upcoming primary in March. It's a crucial state for any candidate to win in November. And as part of our election 2020 coverage, we're taking a closer look at the voters in each surrounding county. And our focus this week turns to a rapidly changing Oakland County. Oakland County was a Republican stronghold in presidential elections up until the mid-90s, when the county flipped, voting for Bill Clinton in 1996, and continued voting for Democratic presidents in the next 5 elections. Before we get into how this county started trending blue and what that could mean for the 2020 election, let's understand the folks who call Oakland County home. For the figures, we searched the census, found data from Oakland County, and returned to Metro Detroit stats guru Kurt Metzger. Oakland County is wealthy and well-educated. The median income in Oakland County is $80,000. That's $23,000 more than a typical Michigan household. The county has a large manufacturing and technology base, making it a landing spot for the well-educated.
Oakland County has always been higher educated. Just over 47% of the population has at least a bachelor's degree. That's a population 25 and over. And Macomb County, it's only 25%.
Oakland County continues to grow in diversity.
Oakland County has also benefited from immigration as well, but Oakland County tends to get more educated, higher income. Oakland County has a very large Asian population, primarily Asian Indian, Pakistani, Chinese, Japanese, but a much higher income population as well.
From 2010 to 2018, the Asian population has grown 45%. They live in communities like Troy and Rochester Hills, Novi and South Lyon.
The strength of the technology sector in Oakland County really has attracted a large Asian population.
About 14% of the population is African American.
Over the years, you had the Jewish population in Detroit moving into Oakland County and then moving to the Northwest, and then African Americans kind of following that same pattern.
One unique majority African American community in Oakland County is Lathrop Village.
What I've found interesting is it's a city majority African American with a median income higher than the national average. There are 130 of those communities across the country. Lathrop Village is the only one in Michigan.
Diversity dwindles as you head to the northern end of Oakland County.
It starts to get pretty white when you start to get to Clarkston and Davison and Lake Orion and those areas. Upscale white population, but tends to be, in many ways, kind of a population that has separated itself from Detroit.
Head back down to the Woodward Corridor and you find many young people.
A lot of small communities with downtowns. You're seeing tremendous resurgence when you look at communities like Ferndale and Royal Oak and Clawson and Berkeley. All these are seeing tremendous growth, a lot of building going on.
But despite the resurgence, Oakland County is bracing for an aging population.
We're projecting that in 2025, there will be more people 65 and over in Oakland County than 18 and under. And that'll be the first county to do that. Nationally, it's supposed to happen 10 years later.
Okay, so those are the numbers on education, diversity, and age. In a moment, you'll hear how each play a part in the changing political landscape of Oakland County. So let's recall what happened in the midterm elections. Voter turnout was high. 65% of voters cast ballots. Oakland County saw a powerful blue wave. Voters helped flip formerly Republican-held congressional seats, choosing Democrats Alyssa Slotkin and Haley Stevens, and helped elect Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Republicans lost power county-wide. For the first time in decades, Democrats won the offices of prosecutor, treasurer, clerk, water resources commissioner, and gained a majority on the County Board of Commissioners. After L. Brooks Patterson passed away last year, Democrat David Coulter was appointed county executive. Patterson had held the office since 1992. Michigan pollster Ed Sarpolis argues one reason behind the blue wave is the second generation of immigrants who now vote.
You see that multiculturalism because now those people of color and cultures are now voting. Their parents may not have learned the English language or may not have voted, but now their children who have now been here and educated, they're now voting. That's the big difference.
Another key voting bloc, suburban women.
So what's changing is now you have all these college-educated women, young and old, they're concerned about their careers and they're concerned about their kids. Now you're having a blend of women who are conservative on some issues, but they haven't lost their moderate views on social issues.
Democratic pollster Stan Greenberg spoke with college-educated women in Oakland County. What he found surprised him.
The suburban women, sounded like base Democrats. And they were upset about the racism, they were upset about the anti-immigrant sentiment and the encouragement of racist and violent behavior that was taking place in the country. They were upset with what was happening with guns, all of which they think the president was encouraging. The suburban rebellion against Trump is pretty profound. I'm in awe of it. There's a women's tsunami coming that's playing out across every segment. It's strongest amongst the college-educated and suburban women. They're leading it, and they're very conscious of the fact that they're leading it going forward into 2020, and that would change everything.
Our deep dive on Wayne County is coming up in the next few weeks. And to see our look at Macomb County and all of our election 2020 coverage, just head to onedetroitpbs.org. All right, turning now to development in Detroit. Nolan Finley of the Detroit News had the opportunity to talk with Bedrock CEO Matt Cullen at the Detroit Policy Conference. Bedrock is the real estate development arm owned by Dan Gilbert, who is still recovering after a stroke last year.
Matt, I guess the first thing we want to know from you is how's Dan doing?
Great to be with you, Nolan. Dan's doing really well. He's continues to make progress. He's very much engaged in the major business decisions. He's starting to come into the office more, he's playing a key role in everything that's going on. So we're very thankful for that, but want him to stay focused on getting better too.
Matt, you've been involved in downtown redevelopment for a long time. there's a sense I'm getting from talking to people here that we're in a bit of a slowdown. Do you feel that's true?
I don't know. I mean, I think it felt like it was just moving at such a frantic pace for a period of time, and people were like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and they weren't really focused on the fundamentals of real estate. And I mean, it felt like a little bit of that manic mode, and so I feel like it's getting to be a really comfortable circumstance now where the supply and demand are coming into balance. The economics, I mean, certainly construction costs are high, but that's in part based on this sense of this incredible demand, right? I think as things balance out a little bit, good projects are going to get built, and we're going to be much more in sort of a sustainable mode. So I don't feel like it's a slowdown. I feel like it's a sort of a maturation, and I mean that in a very positive way.
Now you have two major projects going, the Hudson building and the Monroe block. Where are you on those two?
We actually have four major ones going. So we have one campus, Marshes, that's going to be done just in the next few months, 300,000 square feet of new office with a great event space. The Book Tower, that fabulous, iconic building, they've been empty for decades, well underway with that. That'll be open in 2022. Hudson's, we're hard at work on. We're going to go vertical this year. $1 billion plus project, 1 million square foot plus.
So we'll see that rise.
Yep, and completed that with our expectation is 2023. And then finally Monroe, which will be a little bit behind the others as we kind of work from a cadence standpoint. Again, about a $1 billion, 1 million square foot project with a very significant component of office. So sort of down the path with two of them, one nearing completion, a couple well underway, and a third one coming.
So Matt, as you look at where we are in Detroit, these major projects, all the buildings you've done to date, are we entering a different phase in Detroit's redevelopment? I mean, have we done the rehab part, and are we starting to see more ground up?
I think so. I mean, Dan would, describe it as going vertical, when you look at Hudson's and Monroe and things like that. I mean, so we're sort of just at that, transition point, right? Because Book Tower is a renovation. OCN, One Campus Marshes, is kind of half and half, right? It's an expansion of existing building, but Hudson's and Monroe are ground up. And I think there's certainly lots more buildings to rehab in the downtown core and certainly throughout the city. But I think as you look to major offices and so on now, it's going to require ground up development.
Investment interest in Detroit still high?
Very high, very significant. I mean, I think it's broadly based too. It's other developers, it's lenders, it's retail tenants, it's office tenants, so we continue to see great demand.
What are the challenges ahead as you see them?
I think just continuing the cadence of activities. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, there's a little bit of a pressure on labor, and so as a result, the construction costs are a little higher than we like to see them.
They're up 30%, right?
Absolutely. So we need to sort of reconcile that a little bit. Part of that is bringing more skilled trades guys into the pool and that kind of thing. So that's something we got to pay attention to. I think we want to make sure that we're paying attention to the entire city. I mean, with the mayor's leadership on the strategic neighborhood funds, and that's, a lot of great things taking place downtown, but we need to cascade that out into the neighborhood. So, I think that there's plenty of things to be paying attention to, but nothing that is kind of blinking red like a roadblock.
A little more challenging than neighborhoods, though, right? I mean, the demand is there for the downtown space and the downtown projects. How do you generate that same sort of interest in neighborhoods that have been neglected, in some cases, 50 years or more?
Well, I mean, good question. I mean, I think it's not one neighborhood fits all, right? I mean, if you look at what's taking place in near and downtown neighborhoods, they're exploding. I mean, West Village, Indian Village, Woodbridge, Corktown, all of those kinds of areas are doing tremendously well. The historically strong neighborhoods in Detroit are doing really well. What we need to do, and what the mayor's been focused on, are those sort of transitional neighborhoods that are on the cusp that you could bring back into very vibrant neighborhoods, good brick ranches and that kind of thing. And so we need to put resources there. And we as ROC are doing that in a very significant way, but we're following the lead of the mayor and Gary Torgo, the Strategic Neighborhood Funds, and a lot of others. So I think what you're going to see a lot of in this next decade is a pivot to the neighborhoods, and we welcome that. We think it's the right thing to do.
This weekend, the Sphinx Competition finals are taking place at Detroit's Orchestra Hall. It is the 23rd year for this event that has opened the doors for hundreds of young classical string musicians of color. Detroit Public Television is live streaming the Sphinx concert and conference that focuses on diversity in the arts, February 6th through the 8th. And Stephen Henderson of American Black Journal spoke with the organization's manager of institutional partnerships, Lauren McNeary, and cellist Kamyron Williams.
So 23 years
Yes.
of the Sphinx competition, that's a long time. Yes, we are very excited to be back and be back at the DSO and in the Detroit community, and really just offering an opportunity to create diverse audiences and create opportunities for the competitors. So it's an exciting time.
So I know that we do this show each year and we talk about the importance of diversity in music and classical music in particular. But I always think it's worth reminding people that the diversity we see in classical music today owes a lot of what it is to Sphinx and this competition. And the 23 years you guys have really been encouraging young people of color to do this.
Yes, so it was founded, like you said, 23 years ago by Aaron Dworkin, and at the time he didn't see himself in his colleagues on stage and in the music schools. And over the past 23 years, we've been able to increase the number of Black and Latinx classical musicians across the world's orchestra stages by about 4 or 5%.
Yeah.
It's not a very large increase, but it is a very substantial increase.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, there was almost nothing before. I mean, and it's hard to imagine that just 23 years ago, you could go to a symphony concert and see nobody of color on stage in most major cities, and that now you're starting to see people who are doing it.
Yes, and we're starting to see a buy-in from the nation's major orchestras. Running currently with the Sphinx competition is SphinxConnect, which is the epicenter of arts, and we really work to tackle the issues of diversity, inclusion, and equity in the arts. This year, I believe we'll be welcoming over 800 musicians, arts leaders, arts organizations, arts administrators, and fellows to Detroit, to really tackle that issue head on and create opportunities for musicians of color.
Hey, talk to me about how you came to want to play the cello.
So for me, it kind of started in the public school system back in Florida. I had a friend who was a year older than me. He was a neighborhood friend. He was already in orchestra, and he was like, "Hey man, like, if you join orchestra, we have class together." And I was like,
"Okay,
right, let's do it." So fast forward, I'm in orchestra, and I think it's like the first or second day, and the orchestra director's trying to like choose, like, all right, who should do this? And the orchestra director looks at me, Sandy Neal, and you're a big kid. I was a lot bigger back then. I think you should play the cello. And I was like, okay, sure. Okay. So kind of went with it, and I mean, I just immediately, I guess, fell in love with it.
So tell me how you felt as an African American male playing the cello in the orchestra. It's not the thing that you see a lot of other African American men doing. But were there other kids of color involved that way? And did you feel as though there were barriers, I guess, to your success there?
I would say when I first started, it was definitely noticeable that I was the only person of color in the orchestra. But I wouldn't say it deterred me or anything. I would say it was more of like a motivator and also a way of like, oh, like I should really lead by example and show that like I'm just like everyone else. And when I first started, it was just having fun, enjoying and playing music, and that's what it was all about. So that's how it was for me.
What about the university level?
University level?
Was it more diverse or less diverse?
Becoming more diverse.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
And finally, let's head to the theater. The Detroit Public Theater is taking on the punk rock musical Hedwig and the Angry Inch. It opens this weekend starting February 6th, but it won't be performed at their usual venue. Instead, the show is at Ant Hall in Hamtramck, a deliberate move to lend authenticity to the production. We had a chance to see a rehearsal and talk to the actors and directors about how this show really connects with its audience.
operation got botched. My guardian angel fell asleep on the watch. Now all I've got is a Barbie doll crotch. I got an angry itch. 6 inches forward and 5 inches back. I got an angry itch.
So Hedwig Schmidt was born in East Berlin. She was actually born Hansel Schmidt, and she was trying to get out of East Berlin. She met an American GI, and she underwent an operation, a botched sex change operation. And so she got out of East Berlin and is living the rest of her life as a woman. And she's performing a nightclub act.
My name is Hedwig. Please welcome the angry itch.
What's so fun about Hedwig the character is it's kind of built around the fact that people are going to be a bit uncomfortable in the room with her, and she has a lot of fun with that. She not only breaks the ice, but she shatters the ice.
It's this beautiful story that's told with all this kind of horror and turmoil and sadness and struggle, but at the end it's just this amazing, enlightened, almost like a butterfly out of the cocoon type of moment.
I am thrilled you could join me here for this special opening night performance here at the beautiful Ant Hall. Ant Hall, like when you leave your groceries in the hallway. This grand hall has a celebrated history as a place of sanctuary.
To be at Ant Hall versus the Detroit Symphony Orchestra space, which Detroit Public Theater has performed at for the last 5 years, we're now in an environment. We're in a club. We're in a bar. We're in a place that Hedwig would probably tour to.
We like the air here, and so we really wanted to make it an immersive theatrical experience for everyone. Hopefully theater does that anyways. Theater can transport you, but this time we're literally transporting the audience.
And then fire shot down from the sky in bolts like shining planes of the night. And it rips right through the flesh of the children of the sun and the moon and the earth.
There's going to be people here who are fans of Hedwig and know every word. There's going to be people who are subscribers to Detroit Public Theater who maybe are used to things like Arthur Miller or Annie or whatever it would be. And we have tickets to something tonight. I don't even know what it is.
So DPT is a small professional theater company. We're in our 5th season. We really work to connect the national theater community and the local theater community. We also really try to tell contemporary stories and stories that will resonate with contemporary audiences and Detroit audiences in particular. So we want to make sure that the people who live in our city, it's a public theater, it's for everyone. We want our work to be for everyone, and we want everyone to see themselves reflected in our work.
Adversaries, they try and tear me down. You want me, baby, I dare you. Try and tear me down. From East Berlin to Junction City. Hello, Hamtramck. Hello, Detroit.
A lot of people might look at Hedwig as someone who isn't an individual with a beating heart, and Hedwig says, you know what, I'm actually going to make myself larger than life. I'm going to elevate myself even higher so that you have to see me and that you have to understand the beauty that I have.
I want the audience to feel seen. We are all enough exactly as we are, and we are to be celebrated for who we are, and we can all just lift up our hands, like Hedwig says. That's what I want people to feel, to walk out just feeling like that, feeling seen.
Don't you know me? I'm the new bird in fall. Try and tear me down.
Break a leg to the cast and crew this weekend. Hedwig runs through February 29th. That's going to do it for us, but before we go, we're going to learn a little bit more about Bon 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 and the fantastic chocolates that they make. I'm Christy McDonald. We'll see you next week.
Bon 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 means good, good, good. So the idea is that it's sincerely good chocolate. Making bonbons already means we're making something delicious, and people have an idea of what it is, but making Bon Bon Bons means they're extra good in terms of the way that we source them and the way we make them and the ingredients that we're putting into them.
It's a creative place, like it's full of variation, how it looks, how it tastes, and our work environment is full of fun. We have lots of fun each and every moment.
The first day we were open, we had a line that went around the block and we paid our rent for the year. And it's been insanity pretty much ever since.
When they come, you could see like the environment, they really like it, and you can see the joy on their face. So yeah, I like that.
I think there's not a lot of communities that are as tight-knit as Hamtramck. And I don't think a community shop that's like Bon 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 would have been able to launch nationally the way that it has without having come from a community that's like that.
This is all mine. Not sharing. You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Maryland cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. The Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, Business Leaders for Michigan, and by
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.